Have you ever experienced anxiety? I imagine most people will have done. When you'd be anxious about maybe work or your job interview, how your child's doing at school, new holidays, just general day-to-day things. When you're in active addiction, the anxiety is terrifying. The point where you can't live a normal life. And it controlled me for years. It built up over time. I'm going to take you through a day when I was pretty much on death's door, really, with anxiety and physical problems with alcohol. And my day would start maybe, 7:30, 8 o'clock, because the people around me were waking up, not in my flat, but you just hear noises from outside, people going to work and all sorts of things. I couldn't move really. I had this bed, the slats are broken, I had this huge distended stomach from cyclic fluid. It's massive. It was hard to touch. I was just staggering on every day, thinking, I hope it goes away, I hope it goes away, I hope it goes away. It didn't go away. And I always had a couple of cans of beer. My favourite beer at the time was Stella Lager. And I always opened the top of them so they were flat when I could drink them. And so I'd lie in bed, eyes half closed, and just pour one into my mouth. Sometimes I'd just regurgitate and be sick. Horrendous. Sometimes I could manage to keep it down. I'd lie there for a few more minutes. Just thinking, how can I cope with today? It used to take me 10 or 15 minutes just to pull myself around, and I was sweating. Hair matted on my head with sweat. My hair turned grey. I hadn't had a shave for months. I hadn't brushed my teeth for weeks. And I used to try and pour as much as I could in my body to try and get me out of the bed, even. That's how bad it was. Just to get out of the bed, this alcohol had to be in my system. So I lived on alcohol. Didn't eat food, just lived on alcohol. My body was used to it, my brain was used to it. I tried to stop. In the past I had seizures. So I managed to, after a few minutes, sort of turn myself over, put my legs on the side of the bed and get it, sort of sit there again, just staring at one wall, thinking, I've got to try and get up. I need to go to the loo or something, go for pee or something. Stand up and feel really, really shaky. Very, very weak in the legs. Sweating like buckets and feeling terrible. Dry throat. Dry mouth. Breath stank. I had rats in the flat at the time. All that mess from the rats was there. Fucking hell. Because I couldn't get anybody in to fix the electricity. I couldn't get anybody to sort the rats out. I didn't want anybody in the flat. I'd become sort of recluse. I was just to try and get out some nights just to see somebody. The first half an hour was taking just really bit to sort of sit on the bed and then stand up and go in the bathroom. I used to look at myself in the bathroom and think, God almighty, you look old. You look terrible. How have you got yourself in this fucking mess? Really bad, I'd come back in and often I'd be sick in the kitchen sink. It was higher than the bathroom sink. And when I would bend over too much, I used to feel dizzy when I was being sick in the bathroom sink. I couldn't reach the toilet, I'd just fall over. And just put a bit of cold water in there and try and flush it away. There wasn't much on my stomach, it was just liquid, really. Liquid, the salad just hard, or the Guinness side at night would come up and lots of yellow bile. And then I'd stuck it back into the bedroom and just lie again. Maybe try and have a little bit more sleep. It's not sleep, just rest. Just laying down, really. I just fall in this huge hole in the bed and think, Jesus, I couldn't get anybody to fix this last. I didn't want to see anybody. I just then think, how am I going to cope with today? And I used to check my phone and be missed calls from my mother and father at the time. My daughter, I just couldn't cope with it. And I used to, eventually, a couple of hours later, so I'd got enough lager in me to try and pull myself around, look out the window and see people in, dressed for work, smiling, happy with a cup of coffee. I think, why can't I be them, I've missed out on so much. I used to be like them a few years before. When I was in central London, I was working, but I'd let myself go so much. Then the anxiety would hit again. How are you going to cope? Should you go to the doctors? Blah, de, blah, de, blah. Same more thing every day. How will I get through the day? Can I manage to get the pub at night? can I get some more supplies? I never had enough supplies. I was always worried because I was going to run out, I had tons of beer. I just sat to listen to some U2 songs. I had rats in the flat. I used to try and clean their mess up. They used to live behind the settee, and I used to try and chase them and kill them. I couldn't let the rat guy in because he wanted to come in early in the morning. I didn't want anybody in to see me. I didn't want to meet my parents. I didn't want to meet anybody, apart from the old soaks in the pub. So the anxiety would kick in again. The post would arrive. What's that? Post. Any little noise. I was so susceptible to any little noise. When we walked by and, shout with all. There was a dog barking or something. I was like a nervous wreck, like a kitten. So nervous. I've been a very strong, capable policeman years before in central London. It was this total wreck. Lost so much weight I hadn't eaten for months really, probably. Also had various injuries, cuts and bruises where I'd fallen over. And I just stood my toes and things, and this and the other. I couldn't walk properly. It was a total mess. And then the anxiety would come on again. How are you going to cope? How are you going to do this? How are you going to do that? What happens if your parents turn up? What happens if? All this sort of thing. I'm going to get this social event. I think my mother's birthday coming up or something a few months ahead. I used to worry about things months ahead. My mind was turning over all the time. Will I open the post? What's going to be in the post? Will there be bad news in the post? All this sort of thing. Still sweating. Horrendous. So I'd go about lunchtime and try and put some water on my face, maybe run a bit of water and try and maybe brush my teeth. But I never did. I'd probably just put a bit of minty stuff on, and that would make me feel sick again, maybe regurgitate the lager back again. But I thought I haven't got enough in my system now. But I never had enough in my system. And I'd go back to the lounge. TV was broken. I used to listen to a bit of music and just look out the window and watch, as I said, watch the world go by. I think, why can't I be part of that? I want to be part of that. Why have I been chosen to suffer? I felt sorry for myself, I felt depressed. I get about 4 o'clock and I think, I've got to get out of this flat. I've got to make a move. I've got to get some sort of life, see some sort of life. Then I get anxious about, will I be able to get a taxi there? About a mile away. Will I be able to get a taxi back? Especially in the winter when it was icy and things like that. Anxiety would start again. Have I got any money in the bank? Can I make it to the cash point? I knew that if I got a taxi door to door to the pub, I'd be all right. But if I need any cash, or need any supplies, I'd have to get somebody going to the pub and leave the pub and go down the high street. It was only about 40 yards, but I couldn't do that. I used to panic. I used to have panic attacks as soon as I left the building. And I would start again, so I'd go in the pub and people would say, how are you doing? Because I knew I was having issues. And I'd get a pint of Guinness in the pub and think, oh, this is going to make me right. I always used to think tomorrow was going to be a better day. It's going to make me right, but never did. I had 2 or 3 pints, maybe trying to have a bag of crisps. Stay in the pub as long as possible, so at least I had somebody to talk to, and somebody to look at. And I'd ring the taxi about 10 to 11, before Ubers. Oh, I've got no taxis for 40 minutes. I couldn't walk home. God, how can I stay in the pub then? They'd throw you out the pub basically, and they'd stand and freezing cold outside. Eventually the taxi would come and I could already walk. And the taxi drivers who knew me used to help me get into the car and get back. And I was just asking them to drop me at the middle door, so when I came in the middle door, I was safe. All I had to do was get along the corridor. And I could crawl along, but patch the walls out all the way, put the key in the door. It was a very stiff lock, if I remember. Pushed the door and with my shoulder was neck. So painful because I was so thin. Open the door and then get into safe. And then I would try and, I don't like silence, and the rats would disappear, because I know the rats had been out, rat droppings everywhere. Try and clean them as best I could. They were just squalor, total squalor. And I'd think, shall I make something to eat? Maybe try and make some soup, a little bit of bread or something, because people used to deliver me a little bit of food and stuff. I could never eat. It was too hot, too cold, whatever. Just sit on the edge of the bed again. And I had a little radio as well. Just put on, it was Talk Sport or something. Listen to that and just sip these cans, sit like all night. Midnight, and then it'd be 1 o'clock, and then it'd be 2 o'clock, it'd be 3 o'clock, and I thought, I must get some sleep just in case my pants ring in the morning, And then I'd just lie in bed again, feeling terrible, sometimes I'd be sick again. I had nothing to eat. I had no water really. I didn't fancy water. Just drinking, sipping the Stella. I lived on beer for months and months, you know. And the anxiety would disappear slightly for a couple of hours, and I was in a dream. I used to love the dreams. I thought I'd never come back into the torture I was living in. I used to dream I was on one of these motor yachts, and I'd dream I was dying here, and my body would go over there and be in their body because they died, and I could actually go back in the dream. Very bizarre. And I'd wake up again with people going to work, doors slamming and that sort of thing, 7:30, 8 o'clock, and the whole thing would start again. The 24 hours felt like months, and it really does shatter your life, alcohol. And you know, it took me down to places I'd never want to go again, mentally and physically, and I nearly passed away because of it. That's how bad it was. And I had nights worse than that, which we'll go into a later date. Feelings of deep depression. I just couldn't cope with life, and that's where I was. 6 years on, Nelly, I'm a different person. I managed to get myself pulled together. You can do it. I can help you do it, because if I can do it, then you can. I had alcohol-related liver disease, decompensated, which is very, very serious. The lifespan maybe 2 years when it's detected, and now it's turned into compensated. My liver function is now normal, which is incredible, really, for the amount I used to drink. If you want any help with that, I'll put a link in the description. If you benefit from the videos, then please like and share and subscribe to the channel. I do lives a lot of evenings at 9 o'clock. Need any help? My number's on there somewhere, or in the links, and I will speak to you soon.